Welcome to O-Talkin' with Dave. Put your hands together for the pastor of positivity whose glass is always at least half full. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? I hope you are great. I am top shelf, ready to go. Got on my running shoes today. I'm feeling especially spry. And that's what we're going to talk about. Running. We're all busy. We're all running somewhere. The thing is, are you running to something or are you running from something? We're going to talk about that. But everybody's running. Either some run to an opportunity, some run from pain or a situation, and some are just running in circles and calling it busy. You busy? Man, I'm covered up. Oh, got all I can do. Yeah, but we're all running. Now, full disclosure, I've got some cool running shoes on. They're Hoka's, by the way. I don't know if I pronounced that. And they've got probably 300 yards on them. My running days, quite frankly, are over as far as physical exercise. I'll walk a lot, but Dave don't run anymore. I tried to jump the other day, and gravity is a cruel mistress. I jumped and parts of my body didn't, and it hurt. But running, the thing is, what do you think of when you hear running? It can be for exercise, it can be fleeing or retreating, or it could be headed towards something that's exciting. A 2024 Gallup study found that 62% of Americans, they feel stuck or dissatisfied with something. And understand, I'm talking about home, work, and play. Whatever hits you right now, or as we talk, that's what I'm talking about. So 62% feel stuck and dissatisfied. Only 27%, they make up a deliberate plan when they need change, when they need to run. 27%. That means most of us, in one way or another, we're sprinting, but no one knows where the finish line is. And productivity, planning, preparation, that's what I talk about here. So running, a lot of times, it just feels like progress. All right, I'm going. I'm moving. You tell me to action helps, yeah. But it feels like progress, but many times, if you don't have a purpose, if there's no purpose, it's just exhaustion with more comfortable shoes. So let's talk about it. Change feels difficult. I love change. I embrace change. Change is going to be thrust upon you, so you need to learn to deal with change, or you're just going to be satisfied with the status quo or the situation you're in. Change is not the enemy. Chaos is the enemy. You don't want chaos. Plan change, it increases the dopamine and focus up to 35%. Your dopamine, it gives you that natural high, and it's going to increase your productivity when you plan the change that happens. And there's a lot of proactive ways to do this and be in control. I've talked about freedom, control, and resolve. Change is all intermingled in that. But reactionary change, that's what's scary. When we run out of fear or guilt or maybe even boredom, that spikes a stress hormone by over 50%. So when we plan for change, we get the good stuff. We get the dopamine. But when we reactive in the fight or flight moment, stress spikes over 50%. John Maxwell, I've read most of his books. I think he's a wonderful speaker, and he was a pastor, but I think in business, his biggest trophy would be around leadership. And he says about change, he says, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And that's the difference in plan change and reactionary change. Growth only happens when we choose our direction instead of fleeing something because of our discomfort. I believe it. And this is home, work, or play. At home, it can be a relationship. It could be something that needs to happen with your kids or with your spouse or even with another family member. You need to address this and plan the change, not just fight or flight. At work, there's so many examples of where people have left a good job because either maybe they don't even have a plan. They don't even have another one lined up. They just know they hate this. Or maybe they do have something lined up, but it's just an outlet. The grass is greener type thing. Or it can't be worse than this. Yeah, many times it can. And then just in your social life or your me time or the play part of things, many times we'll stop doing something and start doing something else for the wrong reasons. Everything can be planned. And we'll talk about how to notice that. But I think we all know what chaos is. And if you're fleeing chaos, hopefully there's a word for you today. Because there are dangers of running without a plan. When you change directions without a map, you don't end up transformed, you end up tired. And so there's 5 classic dangers of running from something instead of to something. When you run from something, you carry that problem with you. Geography does not fix a mindset. I don't know who said it, but it's true. No matter where I go, there I am. Yeah. If a woman says the last 10 people she's dated are narcissists, I'm beginning to wonder, maybe you're the problem. I don't know, but you carry the problem with you when you're running from something without a plan. Also, you lose valuable lessons. Leaving early means missing part of that education. There was more there. And if you'd have stayed longer, you would have confirmed, okay, all right, yeah, I need to plan to leave. This is not working. I need to plan to leave. However, if you leave too early, you may not see the next phase. You may have left that job right before it got better. If you're running from poor sales, okay, there are things you can do to help with the sales. And what if you leave right before they take an uptick? Maybe you're leaving a person when they're at a low point in their life, and within months, things turn around. So I'm not saying, I'll go back to that, you can stop, don't quit. Don't ever quit. Stopping includes a plan. Leaving includes a plan. Running should include a plan. Because when you leave and you run from something, you're creating false peace. It's not calm. It's not calm at all. It may be a relief, but it's not calm. It's really just quiet avoidance. Yeah, it's gone. It's back. It's in my rearview mirror. Okay. If you don't have a plan, then you're just avoiding. And it will be maybe calm, maybe relief for a period. But it's a false peace. Also, you burn bridges. When you run from something without a plan, escaping rarely ends with closure. I can think of projects. That's why before I take on a project, and they're usually 2 to 5 years, I set the parameters of what does success look like? What are my goals? What is a time period that we think is reasonable? That can change. And then also, what is the exit strategy before we even start? At this point, we can say goodbye, both say we did a good job, and go on to bigger and better things. If you don't do that, you burn bridges. That's like quitting a job that you're not doing very well and not giving 2 weeks notice. Whew. Good luck getting back with them or getting a good reference. Good luck being dismissive of or avoiding friends for a while. How you leave one peer group and go to another, that determines how you're seen in that former peer group's eyes. That's why I'm happy to say I got friends all over the country in different places we've lived, and we usually leave on good terms because we don't flee. excuse me, we have a plan. I remember when we were moving to Vegas from probably the most close-knit community we've ever lived in San Diego, we let them know, I think 4 months ahead of time, here's what's going to happen. Here's the timeline. We had so many going away parties. We almost stayed. I'm just kidding. But if you don't plan and let people whose best interests are in knowing and preparing as well so they can make a plan, you burn bridges professionally, personally. And then here's the thing. You repeat the same mistake in that new setting. It's a different zip code. You're still there, but it's the same pattern. Runners, if you're running from something, you better have a plan. Because running from pain guarantees you're going to run into it again. You're going to disguise it as something else, but it's going to come back. I hate to be negative there, but I'm trying to make that point because that fight or flight, fight first. Fight for time, fight for sanity, fight for a plan, fight to rid it of chaos before you go. Because you may find out you're going to take a long walk, but this is a short pier. There you go. And see, part of the dangers of running, when you're running from something, avoidance creeps in. And that, when you're dealing with, or not dealing with avoidance is a better way to put it. When you leave, when you run, it feels like relief. It does, because, whew, got rid of that. It's like the movie when the monsters or whatever in a horror picture. Okay, you get away from it. No, you look back, they're not coming. You look back, we outran them. And then all of a sudden, boom, they come in from the side. How many times has that happened? That's what happens with avoidance because, by definition, you're not facing it. You're not facing it. Research in real life, it holds true. When running becomes your coping strategy, these things happen. These 5 things happen. Emotional fatigue and burnout. Because that's what you're just tired, man. Emotionally and physically. Because you're avoiding something, that means you never know when it's going to jump out and grab you. Or when you're going to have to face it. And that is exhausting. A study in 2023 found that people who avoid confrontation report 38% higher levels of chronic anxiety. 38%? You got that level anyway, but people who are avoiding confrontation take that normal level and jack it up by 38%. Chronic anxiety. And if you already got other problems, depression or other issues, avoidance it's like a cancer. It's going to multiply everything. Avoidance drains mental energy because you're always dodging your own reflection. It's like running around in a house of mirrors. You can't help but see yourself. And yourself is really what you're running from. Then the second thing, you're going to have a pattern repetition. I hit it a little bit earlier, but according to clinical psychologists, avoidance reinforces the same neural loops that caused the behavior. You get in a loop. This mindset of avoid. You're going to start avoiding other things. What you run from today, you're going to recreate it at some point because this is the loop. Meaning, in your relationships, if you sabotage those, you're going to continue to sabotage those. I know a lot of people, they have a pattern in their relationships. It's almost like a marriage, whether it's woman, man, whatever. Some people get in that habit of when you meet somebody new as a friend, oh my goodness, you have the honeymoon period. It's fantastic. Oh, they're so funny. Oh, they're so much fun to be with. Every time I'm with them, I feel better afterwards. And then after a while, a couple of things will start getting on your nerves about them. Oh, I don't like it when they do that. Or, oh, my goodness, he does this or she does that. And then eventually it's, oh, I just can't stand to be around them. So you start to avoid them. And then finally it's over. And you start that avoidance and you flee the relationship. Okay, that is your pattern. That's what you do. People have been married a long time. You know these when they're coming in. You know when they get excited about something new. When they can only have one friend at a time. If more friends come in, then there's some jealousy or whatever, and they sabotage the relationship. This is their pattern. And avoidance lends itself to pattern repetition to where you're going to, this is how you react, and you're causing the problems. Also, you have delayed healing. You can run, but you can't outrun grief, guilt, or fear. No, you can't. There have been some studies on trauma avoidance, and they show unresolved emotion amplifies exponentially over time. Now, what does that mean? Yeah, you can outrun it for a little while, but it's gonna catch up. And if you're avoiding the trauma of grief or guilt or fear, it's gonna, when you do have to face it, and you will have to face it, it's amplified to the point to where it's almost an emotional disaster. Yet what's not processed festers. It doesn't fade. It festers. So avoidance, that delayed healing, deal with it. I talked in a recent one. Deal with your grief and your anger. Deal with it. Face it. Give it time. Give it space so that you can get past it. Otherwise, it's going to amplify and you're delaying your healing. Another thing, the dangers of avoidance when you're running, isolation and disconnection. Runners often mistake solitude for safety, especially early on. But emotional withdrawal, that increases the likelihood of depression by up to 70%. That's from the National Institute of Mental Health. So, at first it's okay and you feel good and, I got away. And then it increases. The longer you avoid it, it increases its intensity. And avoidance eventually builds a wall so tall you can't climb it. That isolation and disconnection, and then you're alone. Now you've got these same patterns. You've delayed healing, and now you've got to the point to where you're isolated and disconnected to where now it's all on you. And now you got to face it all. And that's when the fifth one comes in. It's a loss of identity. This constant running over without any purpose, it erases who you are. Because I'm more identified now with the things I've ran from than who am I? Because I didn't choose. I didn't make a plan. I didn't run to something. I've been running from everything. And when every chapter ends with, got to get out of here, I got to run, your story ends. Because you don't have a new story. You keep running from the last one. And so what's inevitable for those that are running out of avoidance? Disconnection, fatigue, repetition, and that growing fear that slowing down might mean facing the truth. They may not even know the truth anymore. And then even the truth is going to grab you and isolate you. But truth doesn't destroy you. The truth frees you. Avoiding the truth is just it's a time bomb. A time bomb. So let's talk. Now that's enough of that. Let's stop running. Let's not stop running from something and just talk about, okay, let's not talk about run to something. Let's address the challenge. Let's address the truth. So 5 reasons to stay and address the challenge. Maybe if it's just time to formulate a plan. Okay, let's just hold on a second. Let's not just run. The first thing, growth only happens through pressure. The diamond's probably the best example. stress under pressure. That takes the components, and that pressure forms the diamond, which is beautiful. It's the same with us. I did a previous O Talk. Most of our personal growth comes through times of hardship, not when the sky is blue and the birds are singing. And so what happens when you're pressured? That's when growth happens. That's when you learn more about yourself. That's when people learn more about you. You build that toughness. You're resilient instead of regret. Running from something is just slathered in regret. So when you stay and figure things out and then make a plan before you leave, it makes you tougher, and it shows a sign of maturity. You gain understanding. You can't heal what you refuse to examine, and you can't examine it until you face it. So you get that understanding. It might confirm, oh yeah, okay, I got to develop a plan. I can't continue like this. Beautiful. But you've done the work. You've examined it. And plus, you preserve your credibility when you do that. If finishing well outlasts leaving fast. That's why every time I leave, I make sure a project, I make sure I've accomplished my goals. Before I end a talk, I try my best to give some type of encouragement and some action steps. And I always have Q&A at the end, just to, how do we do? What do you think? What else? What do you want to know? And I can tell from the questions they ask if I didn't cover something well, or maybe that's a new avenue to go. All of these things. Make sure you finish well, because that's what's going to be remembered. And then you create a closure. Staying long enough to face the truth, to examine it, and to form a plan of departure that ends the story cleanly. Cutting off communication might feel powerful, and that's the psychology of the avoidance is, I will avoid it, and I won't let it talk to me, and I won't talk to it. Avoiders, they feel like that's powerful, but the closure isn't silence, it's clarity. Understand it. And then, hey, I love to be able to mark something off. I've talked about cutting toxic people out of your life. All right, we'll have a plan. Know exactly why they're toxic. Maybe try to mend a relationship or create an atmosphere where they can't be. But don't just avoid them, because they're going to come back up. They're going to appear at times when you didn't know it. Don't just ghost them. Address it. Talk through it. And there are ways to do that. That's a clean closure. And then you don't face the ramifications of just running from chaos. Okay, so we've talked about running from something. We've talked about staying and analyzing it and maybe fixing it, or staying long enough to have a plan. Let's talk about running to something. Now, this is the goods right here. Running to something, that is movement with a purpose. You can't ask for better movement than movement with a purpose. It's vision-driven, not fear-driven. It's a shift from, instead of escape, it's pursuit. It is pursuit, which is beautiful. And when you run to something, you're pulled by passion, not pushed by panic or fear or chaos. Passion. Hadn't you rather be pulled by a passion? That's why people who leave something and pursue their passion are so much happier, even if they're making less money, there's less certainty, less security. They're being pulled by passion. That's fantastic. That'd be a great band name, Pulled by Passion. Sorry about that. Also, when you are running to something, you control the narrative, because you've decided you're going to do this. And you get to define the destination. And that destination is not just a new job, a new relationship, a new circle of friends, a new hobby. No, it's not just that. It can be all of that. but you decide. Maybe the destination is not starting something. Maybe it's starting something that can get you to a final destination. But you decide. You control the narrative. It's your passion. Isn't that much more encouraging and positive? Absolutely it is. So there's some positive things that happen when you run to something that you may not think about. One thing is you're going to be in a state of mind that's going to attract support. People rally around somebody that has a purpose instead of just a panic. You know, that purpose, you can tell. They're driven. It draws people to you, and it draws the right people to you. Because if they're negative, if they're runners out of fear, they're not going to be able to identify with you. So you're going to attract the kind of people you want to be around. You also accelerate your own learning. Purpose creates a lot of momentum because you're excited about it. It's all you can think about. It can be the new job. It can be the new relationship. It can be the new passion or hobby. When you get into that, it's all you can think about, man. It's so exciting, and that excitement is contagious. But two, along this way, you're going to find peace in this process where when you're running from something, it's false peace. When you're running to something and passionate about it, each step, it feels right. You have a cadence. You have a pace. You're not rushed because you're taking it all in. And that is going to be so inspiring to others, and it may give them the courage to pursue their own spark. Now they have hope. If he can do it, I can do it. I've always wanted to do something like that. So inspiring others, that is fantastic, and you're going to attract that. But here's the deal. Unlike losing your identity through avoidance, you transform your identity. You become whatever is required to hit that vision. It doesn't mean it's totally new. It can be the same thing, only enhanced and transformed. I was this, but now I'm this plus this. It's fantastic. And it's all driven by positive, intentional, planned change. Yep. However, you can't chase every shiny new glimmer. I get a little excited. I get really passionate about things, and sometimes I've made bad decisions. So when should you not run to something? Now, this is tough because you got to have some discernment here. It could be just a new distraction. A new start doesn't necessarily mean a new you. You need some discernment here. If you're not finished healing from the last hurt, if you're still hurt, and the rebound people, I'm not ready yet. Or just jump into a new relationship, or just jump into a new job when really it's just like the old job. Now you're in the same situation. So if you're not finished healing from whatever happened before, you can't run into something healthy when you're broken. You can't run with broken feet. So maybe you're just not ready yet. Something's not healed. This could be just a nice distraction. Or if it's built purely on comparison, just trying to prove something, or I'll show them. Yeah, I'll show them. I'll just do this. That's a terrible moral compass or productivity compass. If you're taking a job quick just to show that, hey, you have some marketable qualities, or if you jump into a relationship just to, that'll really get them, or get my past partner, whatever. If it's built on comparison or a jab, that's a horrible reason to run to whatever that is. Or if it's just not sustainable. If it's good and it sounds good, but think it through and plan through, and this is going to be another short-term thing. There are too many similarities. This thing's not going to have legs. I can see this working for a little while, but not for long, and then I'm right back in the same situation. So it's not sustainable. Don't run to that. And then the other thing, and a lot of people who run from things are avoiders, they ignore accountability. Yeah, what you don't own owns you. And so a lot of people will go into something for the money or because it's nice and shiny. But you've got to understand the impact it's going to have on you. And don't ignore accountability. You got to have that. So, in looking at running from something or running to something, a lot of times we fool ourselves. You can say a scenario and you think, yeah, okay, yeah, that's me. I'm running to that. I don't know. Sometimes you need a litmus test. Is this running to or running from? So here's a few things to ask yourself to help discern which one you're doing. So ask yourself, am I moving toward a vision or away from a feeling? That pulled by passion, okay, that can be exciting. That could be good. And that's what you had rather have. But am I just trying to not be frustrated? Am I trying to not be paranoid or jealous or all of these things? So if you're running away from a feeling, that's heavier than running toward a vision. So understand that's a little scale you can look at. And a great test is, before you go, have I made peace with where I am now? That could be in a place and you're ready to go. You're ready to run. Okay? Think it through. Yeah, I am at peace with this decision. That is a good sign that you finished some business here and it's okay. And sometimes it's a holding pattern until you find that passion. Then you find that passion and still think it through. Yeah, this is something I can do. I'm passionate about that. I go from passionate to I'm excited about it. And it's, man, let's go. You've established some closure and now you can go. Yeah, and then you've got another question. Would I still make this move if no one ever found out? Never underestimate the reasons we go or we stay. Don't underestimate the impact of what others would think. I know a lot of people stay because they're worried about what other people are going to think. A lot of people have taken horrible jobs because that was the go-to job. Oh yeah, that looks good. That looked great on a resume. On a resume, you haven't even gone yet and you're already talking about when you leave. So do this for yourself. You're at peace now, but do this for yourself, not for anybody else, positive or negative. It's very important because peace of mind is a wonderful thing, but also owning your decisions and feeling good about yourself when nobody else is around, that's important as well. Another question, is this growth? Is this gonna make me a better person, husband, peer, friend, father, whatever that could be? Is it growth, or am I just trying to escape something? Am I aborting the mission? That's important, and it can be asked in any scenario. And then a great question to ask is, if I stay, what could still be redeemed or rebuilt? That gets you thinking on the positive side. What could be redeemed or rebuilt? And if you can't come up with anything, honestly, looking inside, what could I do better? What could other people do better? And that wouldn't be, I'll stay if you give me $10,000 raise. That's just more money on a bad situation. So if I stay, what could be redeemed or rebuilt? That's a great way to look at it. And if your answer is nothing, okay, I need to find something to run to. So running to something comes from peace. Running from something comes from pain or panic. Staying to fight comes from purpose. So that's important. And I think we need, if we can make the small decisions, that helps us make the big decisions. I think a lot of times, though, we consider smaller decisions easier with less ramifications, less negative, and it becomes such a pattern to where it's like we said earlier, if you are prone to run, you're going to run more often. If you're tired of running, just stop long enough to ask why, because it's exhausting. The more you run from, the more that's chasing you and going to catch up. And all of these things, grief, regret, all of those things, they don't just trot up behind you when you slow down. No, they ambush you. And maybe what you're running from is not even chasing you anymore. It's not even chasing you anymore. I've said that recently in a different O-Talk where let it go. It's not even chasing you anymore, but you're in that run mode. I'm afraid it's going to catch up. It's not even chasing you anymore. Quit flattering yourself. And maybe what you're running toward isn't ready for you yet. I've done that before. I've arrived too early. You heard about people being ahead of their time? Sometimes you're ahead of your purpose. And that's when, I believe, things slow you down. That's why you got to wear the white hat and let somebody take care of you in the grand scheme of things. Growth isn't about speed. Running isn't about speed. It's about direction. So you don't necessarily have to run fast. You just have to run, and that takes some time. Things done. I love spontaneity. I do. I love it. I love it to be spontaneous. It's wonderful. But in decisions that are going to affect you, positively or negatively, just sprinting from a situation without a destination, it's ridiculous. So let's have some action items. Okay? Ready? Homework? Giddy up. Let's talk about it. Write down what you're running from and what you're running to. And if it's, I think there's something currently. It can be something little. It can be some of the goals, different things that are happening. At the end of the year, we make New Year's resolutions. What are we running to? What are we running from? But right now, when your mind starts spinning, you start daydreaming. What is it? What's got you? What's got you wanting to run? And then if you did, would it be running to something or running from something? Okay? Then, so here's the work. Create one clear, measurable step that moves you forward to something, not away. Not away. Maybe if you're trying to run away from something, all right, I need to stay long enough to develop one clear, measurable step that will move me forward. So it's slow down, relax. Don't react, plan, and decide. And then finally, face it. Face it. Before you leave a place, before you just relocate across the country to California. Just kidding, it's a lot of fun. But we planned. Before you leave a place or a person or a job, finish this sentence. So important. Before I leave, what lesson have I learned here? What have I learned? It's so important because if you don't face it, you're going to chase it. And if you chase it long enough, you'll run right back into it again. I did through a series of projects. There's a couple that it was rough. It was toxic environments. I knew why the organizations weren't lucrative. Oh, they made money, but the culture was toxic. And then, okay, I finished that, established all my goals. We had our exit plan. We did that. I go to the next one. I had a few questions before I took that one, and it involved what I had run into before. Okay, did the same thing, 3 years, knocked all the goals out, did well, hired, expanded, blah, blah, blah. However, it took 2 of them, and the last one, I asked deep questions. I not only asked questions, I told them what I was looking for specifically. And then they started selling me on it. And it worked out fantastically. But to do that, you have to understand, what am I running from? Okay, do I have something to run toward? Okay, am I leaving where I'm at in a good spot to where I can leave and live with myself? Still, what lesson have I learned from here? Because if you don't learn the lesson, you're gonna face it again. So hopefully this has been helpful. We can run metaphorically, we can run physically, we can run emotionally. I think it's best that we run to something, because whatever we're running from, we need to learn to deal with that. So next time it comes up, okay, I've learned I can deal with this. I can choose not to participate rather than participate and have to run again. But own it. The choice should be yours. It's your life. It's your path. You can walk, you can run, you can sprint. Have some comfortable shoes. But the thing is, enjoy the run without a fear that something's going to sabotage you or ambush you because you didn't deal with it before you left. Okay? All right. Thanks for hanging out. Hit me up at david@otalks.com. Dave@otalks.com. Just go to otalks.com. There's tons of stuff on there. And then my stuff is everywhere now. My goodness, I Googled myself the other day. I guess I was needing a little pat on the back, and whoo, there's a lot of stuff out there. So check it out. Tell me what you think and give me some more ideas. And we'll get to it. I promise. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging on. But most of all, thanks for O-Talking with Dave. Giddy up.